Good afternoon, boxing fans, and everyone that is staying tuned right now. We have here one of the trainers and managers from California, Eddie. It's a pleasure to have you over here. Thanks for your time. How are you?
I'm doing well, Christian. Thank you for having me on your show. I truly appreciate that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to me. Um, Bump into everyone and whoever wants to ask questions, and this is what we love, and this is why gonna be here, tuning in boxing and eventually tuning up boxing. We have here Danny Roman. You are one of the managers, actually the one correctly, who seen his steps in this game. How is it for him and for you to work and of course achieve all these goals that eventually Roman became two times world champion, and basically he's here, so he's not moving there. He's actually looking forward to face Luis Neri. How is it for you to work together?
You know, Danny and I, we have a great relationship. I know Danny since he was a little kid. I train him as an amateur. I manage him and I train him as a professional. Things have not been easy for Danny. Danny has had it really difficult from the beginning. The promoters didn't believe in him, so he had to work himself up in club fights in order to move up into the rankings. But the hard work paid off. It's a great satisfaction to work with Danny. He has achieved uh, many things that many people didn't think he was going to achieve, and that one of them is becoming a world champion and then becoming a unified world champion. And Danny has proven everybody wrong. So to answer your questions, it's great satisfaction working with Danny.
I'm glad to hear you guys been working together, and of course, I believe there are so many stories about in order to achieve everything that you guys already has, sacrifices, birthdays. I imagine I can imagine how many things you guys been through, but eventually you guys are here. I spoke with Danny Roman, and he says that he wants to have challenge Luis Neri for the WBC title. Eventually he says I have business to handle also with the other fighter that eventually he took away from me my belts, but I'm here. So to me, I mean, like I always mention, everyone inside the camera, off the camera, I respect every opponent, because at the end of the day there has to be a winner, there has to be one lose. But eventually these fights are great for the sports, because back in the days we remember De La Hoya, Mayweather, and other fighters that, I mean, correctly, De La Hoya and Sugar Shane Mosley, Mallorca, Vargas, Fernando Vargas, and all these great fighters. They gave us fights and they got a loss in their career. So there's nothing wrong, I would say, to have that. I don't wish nothing for any fighter like that, but if it comes that loss, they have to go and check what they did wrong and eventually forward, because that's one of the cases that Daniel Roman is looking forward, is pursuing in order to conquer his achievements. How is it for you two guys right now working in order that eventually you're gonna have the opportunity to face Luis Neri for the WBC title?
Well, listen, you mentioned something earlier, which is discipline, uh, sacrifice, and Danny has done all of that, and that's why he's in the position that he's in. Yeah, he might not be the world champion right now, but in my heart, he still is. I believe the fight with Murodjon Akhmadaliev was a very close fight. I think the decision should have gone to Daniel since he was a unified champion. The benefit of that should have gone to the champion. Now we're in a position to challenge Luis Neri. Danny is a mandatory for Luis Neri right now. Luis Neri has decided to go in a different route and fight Brandon Figueroa, and we understand that. He wants to unify. We have to understand that. But we definitely want the opportunity right after that fight to challenge Luis Neri. We earned the opportunity, and I believe that the fans will be very, very satisfied with a fight between both of these great champions, right? Mexicans come in and they give it their all in the ring, and that's guaranteed satisfaction for all the fans. As far as MJ, Murodjon Akhmadaliev, well, there's still unfinished business there between Danny and him. Um, Danny is very much focused in gaining his and regaining his world titles, and we should have to be a little bit patient. I think the opportunity will come with either MJ or with Nery. But Danny will be crowned again as a world champion. Have no doubts about that.
It's true, and I agree with you. I always tell every boxer once it doesn't matter to me as a journalist, as an analyst of boxing. If you lose your title, to me, in my eyes, you are already a champion. I mean, once you be champion, forever a champion. As people mentioning, and I said it too, because at the end of the day, these are the great fights that eventually people's gonna remember in the back. I mean, in the past, and say, "Hey, remember when this fighter fought somebody like this, and it was a great fight, even if he lose a title or gain the title." So I think this is what makes great the sport, and I bet you that Dan is working hard in order to regain his titles one way or another. He will have and find the way in order that he will face again his opponent that eventually he has the titles. And talking about these fights like this, and I'm gonna say it right now. I mentioned it off the camera, but I will say it right now in the camera. Let's say in case, right? I'm not trying to pretend that Danny is gonna lose or something like that, but eventually, this is an important question for me to ask. Um, let's say in case, right? I'm gonna put an example, not with Danny, but just an example with any fighter, right? If the fighter is losing and you as a coach, you watching that the fight is going wrong, would you be throw the towel and during the fight, or you just let your fighter continue?
Look, my main focus of the fight are two things. One, to win the fight with Daniel, and number two, for his safety. If I see that Danny is in trouble, I'm not going to put his life in the line just to win a fight. I would definitely throw in the towel. But then again, I think coaches that really care and really know their fighters, they know the capacity of the fighter. So in that instance, I would have to make that decision there. But if Daniel is in a bad situation, then I definitely will stop the fight. That would not be a problem. I
I
wouldn't think twice about taking care of his safety.
I really take my hat off from my head because eventually you taking care of Danny, and also if you, as I mentioned, you, with all due respect to any fighter out there, including Danny, because I seen sometimes I spoke with someone before, and he was a ex champion, and he says, if I see my fighter in trouble, I would throw the towel and stop the fight. Why? Because at the end of the day, his life is in danger. He will jeopardize
Right.
his life, and nobody wants to see an incident. So it's better that you live another day instead of you being, God forbid, wrong and end the wrong. So nobody wants to see this in the sports. To me, the way I ask this is because I'm saying again, with all due respect to you and every boxer out there, I remember when I asked someone, "Would you stop the fight?" I mean, if you ask the fighter to continue, and he says, "This is my answer." If the fighter is, he probably he's never gonna say no. He always gonna say yes. I'm gonna continue fighting. But in your eyes as a coach, I think you see different perspective. So as you mentioned, I see my fighter in danger, I would throw the towel. So I really take off my hat off from my head, and hey, I would
Look,
say
Christian, I love Danny like my own son. I love him like my own kid. And there's not any amount of money that is worth risking his life. So I would definitely think of his safety before thinking of anything else. There's a lot of interest at this level. Promoters, managers, and so on. But at the end of the day, like you just said, Danny's life is the most important thing for me in there, and I would definitely take care of my boy without any doubt.
I am happy hearing this type of news, this type of answer, and eventually we will see great fights when it comes in Danny's division, because I know he's a tough fighter, he's a warrior, and I can't wait for these fights happen. Mr. Eddie, what message would you like to bring for all the fight fans and everyone that supports this movement, and of course Danny's career as well?
Well, like I said, knowing that Danny's such a disciplined fighter, he's a people's fighter. I'd like to invite everybody, all of the fans, to come out and support Danny. Danny always gives you the best fights. He fights for the people, and he wants to make sure that you are satisfied at the end of the day, every night that he fights. So come out and check him out. Give him his support, your support, and for all the new fans, come out and look at Danny fight. I think you will definitely like his fighting style. I think he will satisfy you just like he does with the rest of his fans.
Thank you so much, Mr. Eddie. I really appreciate your time, and definitely we will stay tuned. So we'll check on you and also as well, Danny. So wish you nothing but the best. We will check it out. New things that he will bring back when he's ready, when this fight happens, and we will stay tuned right there. Thank you.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you for having me on board.
You're welcome.